Starting with lesson 4.1.4, we're going to start building in mechanisms in Fusion. And to do that, we have to still create our joints where different pieces get attached to one another and are able to move. But now they're going to be moving in tandem with one another. So we're going to take a look at that. First thing you need to do in your student file folder, you need to create a new folder. We're going to name that folder 4.1.4 and hit enter so that a folder gets created. Now let's open up that folder. So right now there's no files in this folder. I have my untitled document up here. I'm going to go ahead and save this in that new file folder location. For you, your path would be going to your student name and then 4.1.4. And I'm going to name this first one Pulley. I'm going to hit save. So now Pulley as a file exists and it's showing up over here, but it has no parts in it. So what you're going to do is insert component. You're going to go to engineering, resources, IED, 4.1.4, and then we have all these pieces to choose from. So looking at the notes for this activity, when you're building the pulley, it tells you to bring in a couple things. The first is a 1x8 beam. So we'll go ahead and insert that first. So this component is now in here. We can kind of leave it where it is and hit OK. And something you'll notice is this first component gets this little anchor. So this is the one that became anchored or grounded, which just means that it can't move. If I try to drag it, it stays in place, which is what we want. If you happen to bring your pieces in a different order, you can always unground, and I can unground this and you can ground the part that you want to be the kind of anchor. But in this case, since things are going to be attached to this beam, we're going to leave it as the anchor. Continue inserting my components. I need a 4x shaft. Let that drop wherever it is, hit OK. But I actually need two of these. So I'm going to select that object, hold Control C, and then hit Control V. And now I can drag another one over. So now I have my two shafts. Insert another component. I need to scroll down to the 10mm pulley. Insert that, just drag it over so it's out of the way. And we'll do the same thing, insert another component to grab the 40mm pulley. Just slide that over there. So these are all the pieces we need. Now we just need to join them together. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to attach these pulleys to these axles, to these shafts. So using our join command, I want to get the center of this circle. So you can see if I hold my mouse right on the edge of the circle, it snaps to the center, and you can see the snap point showing up in the middle with the red, blue, and green lines. If I go to this surface though, if I hold Control, I can now move my mouse over to this point. So that's one way we can do it. Either way you do it, as long as that snap point shows up in the center, we'll get what we want. And then I'm going to connect that to this point on the shaft. So when I do that, you can see that it becomes flush so that these surfaces are level. If yours happens to look like this, where the pulley went on top of the axle, you just hit this flip button and it pulls it back down. So get it to this position. When in this position, we need to go down 0.5 inches. So it would be negative 0.5. And then you can put the inch symbol if you're not in inches organically. And if you're not, let me know and we can fix that. So now this pulley is attached rigidly to this axle. We're going to do the same thing with this pulley. Joint. Grab that circle. Grab the center of that axle. And go down negative 0.5 inches. So pulleys are attached to axles. So now we need to put the axles into the correct hole. So to make that happen, join, and we're going to use this between two faces because we want to select the point that is exactly between each face. So we get the middle of this pole, and you can see all the snap points are showing up in the middle, but I also want to be the center of the circle. So put my mouse on the center of the circle, and then that makes the snap point show up in the center of the axle and in the center of the circle of that axle at the end. So now that's attached to, or that's the snap point for the axle. And I'm going to put it in this second to last hole. we'll do the same thing between two faces. I'll grab this face and this face. And again, I want it to be snapped to the center of this circle. So I can either put my mouse over the circle or go to the face, hit control, and move my way to the middle. And you can see that snap point moves as I move around. So I'll grab that position. You can see when it moves, it doesn't bring the pulley with it. That's okay, because it just shows the part that we are moving, not everything that's attached to it, but it will come eventually. So we're going to move this to a revolute because we want this to be able to spin freely. Then we can hit OK. And now we can have our pulley attached here. We can do the same thing. We're going to join between two faces, between this pulley axle, and I want the center of that axle. And again, two from the end. I need to go to between two faces, this face, and then the center snap point. And this is revolute already. So see, our pulleys aren't lined up though. So I'm going to go down here, right click that last joint we just made. I'm going to flip it, then hit OK. Now the pulley went to the other side. So this is what we need. We need both of our pulleys on the same side. In this case, if I go back home, my pulleys are in the bottom. That doesn't particularly matter, but you can see we have motion in these two pulleys. So now what we need to do, we need to join this motion. So we want this, we want the motion when we pull one pulley, the other pulleys want to move with it. So to make that happen, we go up here to the assemble drop down, and we have motion link. So we're going to click that motion link. We can capture position because we have everything where we want it. So we'll capture that position, and we're going to joint or we're going to link some of these joints. So we're going to pick our two revolute. So if you look, you have this little flag for a revolute joint, or I can go up here and drop this down and click the two joints over here. And then it starts to animate the two joints. So I see both of these turning. I need to set this to a particular ratio though, because right now every one turn of this joint gives me one turn of this joint, and that's not the case that would happen in reality, like you guys saw with your mechanisms. In this case, the revolution of this larger joint, if we set that, the larger joint should spin 90 degrees for every 360 of this small. So that's what's happening now. We have 360 and 90. And we see that this joint or this pulley is spinning much faster, which is what we would expect. This has to spin much faster to keep up with the rotation of this pulley. So now we can hit OK. We have that orientation. So now if we rotate this one full rotation, we should see full rotations over here. Or same thing, I can grab that flag and I can rotate this around one full rotation, and then this one has gone a quarter of a turn. If I edit that motion link again, you can see we have this reverse as well, where I can flip the direction that they're spinning. So in this case, we want them both to spin in the same direction. So okay, so now that is linked. We should see if I pull on either of these, the other moves as well. So that's our pulley done. So with that being done, we can hit save. It's a user saved. We can say milestone and say done if you want. You don't need to give any milestones, but we can see once this finish loads, I can go through and I can see, oh, here's my milestone. This is when it was done. So if you ever need to save and like leave yourself notes on projects that take longer, you can go that route. But pulley is now done. Next mechanism we need to do is a spur gear. So we're going to create another file, call it spur gear, and save. So the spur gear shows up here. Our spur gear is going to start really similarly. We're going to insert components, this 1x8 beam. And just leave it as it is. We will insert two 4x shafts, which are 2 inches. And again, we can do the trick where we select the item, Control-C, Control-V, and it copies it, just like a keyboard shortcut. And now we need to insert some of our spur gears. Specifically, we need a 12-tooth spur gear. Bring this guy in. Just move it off to the side so it's out of the way. And we need to insert a 60-tooth spur gear. So now we have both spur gears in the file. Hit OK. We have them in. We're going to do a similar thing as last time, but with these joints. So I'll grab that circle, grab the end of the axle. In this case, it still needs to be a rigid because these get rigidly attached to the axles. That's why they have the square opening. And I'm going to move it down -0.5. -0.5 inches. So do that for this other spur gear, and then we'll get to assembling this. I have my two gears attached to these axles. So first I'm going to go with jointing the smaller spur gear. So as before, between two faces. And I want the center point of that circle. And I'm going to put this on this second hole. And again, I'm going to do between two faces, between this face and this face, using this circle. And that will be a revolute. So hit OK. Now we're going to do the same thing with this one. Joint between faces. And selecting that circle. And then between faces here, we want between this face again, and we're going to put this in the fourth hole from the end. So it should be this hole, again with revolute. So we look, you can see that our gears are meshing. They're at least like in the right position where they're not overlapping with each other. But I can kind of turn this gear so that their teeth aren't touching. So if we go to this top view and zoom in, just kind of manually put it to a position where they're not touching one another. Once I've done that, I'm going to capture position. So now this is where it's going to reset to. So now I can start my motion link. So go to Assemble, Motion Link, pick those two joints. You can either grab them down here by clicking on those little flags. And that gives you the two joints. Or I can do Assemble, Motion Link, and do the drop down and just pick them from the drop down tabs over here. So we have large gear turning clockwise, small gear turning counterclockwise, but their relationship is not correct. As you can see, the teeth are kind of going through one another. So we need to make this 360 to 72. Oh, didn't mean to enter. Instead of that feature, pull back up, pull up animation. So now we can see they're meshing together. It's kind of difficult to see, so we could also scale this down. If we do 36 to 7.2, we can see that occurring where they're kind of locking together again. So we can go OK. Now you see as I turn this, the gears will mesh with one another as they would in real life. So that is our spur gear done. And you'll notice that this, unlike the pulleys, motion here is reversed. So as this axle, like I said, turns clockwise, we see the opposite motion occur on the smaller spur gear. So we're done with our spur gear. We can open up a new document. I'm going to save this one as worm gear, still in our 414 folder. Our worm gear is going to use a few more parts. We're going to start with a 4x4 base plate. So we'll insert that in, hit OK. And again, this is the anchor thing. This is our base. Everything's going to be built on top of. We're going to insert some more pieces. We need a 2x2 piece. We'll drag that over here. hit OK. We need some 1x connector pins, hit OK. So got one of those pins in. We need a 2x1, let's see if we can find it, 2 wide, 1 corner piece. Drag that over as well. We need our worm gear. We need 36 tooth spur gear. And put that on that side, I guess. Let's see, we need a 4x shaft. For the spur gear, and then we need the 8x shaft for the worm gear. So a bit more components in this. So let me see. I think that's everything we need. Nope, we need a bushing as well, a shaft, bushing, and that should be our last piece. So bring this shaft bushing in as well. So here are all our pieces. We're going to start by making some duplicates. So let's grab this 1x connector. We need 4 of these in total, so Control C, and I'll hit V, and Control V, and hit OK, and then Control V, hit OK, and Control V, and hit OK. Need 2 of these, Control V, C, Control V, we get a copy of it, and we need 2 of these guys. So this is the first way we can do it. We have pulled out all these pieces. Show you a simpler way we can make that happen in a second. Let's start with this sub-assembly of like this little connector piece. So you can see we have these like little standoffs. These are going to be flat against this piece. So we're going to do a joint for this circle. If you look, if we were to flip this upside down, it would need to be touching there. So we're going to make it attached to that point. Well, we don't want a revolute. We want this to be rigid. Position. Let's flip that position. And let's rotate this 180 degrees. So now it's in both of those snap positions as it should be. So we hit OK. Now we're going to add these snaps to this piece. So join, grab this circle and this circle. Do the same thing over here. This circle and this circle. So we have this little edge piece. Oh, wait, I did this wrong. We don't need to attach to this base plate. We need, whatever, this will be fine. Let's delete that joint. With this thing connected, but not on this. These pins need to go into this, not the black pieces. So try that again. We'll join this to there. Sure, grab the center of that, the center of this. So that goes into the center, as I would expect. Hit OK. brings a piece. There we go. The blue pieces should be going down into that part, not the other way around. Perfect. So at this point, we can do the same thing again with this guy, or we can grab this assembly of pieces, which is this one, and grab all these and Control C, Control V, and we can pull it out again. So now we have this guy. The only issue is this isn't joined right now. So the shortcut would be, rather than doing the joints like we just did, we can now do as built joints, which just means we're going to select these pieces and join them together as they exist. So Shift J is the shortcut. And I'm just joining all of these pieces together. So now all of these are locked together. Either way you go about it, you can do this just all again, or you can do this as built joints, whichever makes more sense. For me now, I can delete these extras, but you don't need to. You can kind of leave them in there. I just want to make sure they're out of the way. So we have these two end pieces now. We're going to join these end pieces. Grab that inner circle, grab the center of it. This one I'm going to put over here. It snaps up so that the face is lined up with the outside edge. Hit OK, because then it brings that other 2x with it. And this one's going to go in this position, and I want this 2x to be facing outward. So I want this pin to go to this hole, just like if you were to pick this up and spin it around. So I'll grab that. I'll grab this. Flip this over. Do a 180. Now hit OK, and it brings the rest of the pieces with it. So that's what we have so far. We can now add this worm gear to this shaft. So we'll do a joint. I want to do between two faces for both of these components. So first I'm going to grab this worm gear. I'm going to grab the inside piece here. Same thing down here. So I'm grabbing between these two faces, and I'm going to grab the center of this circle. So if I go to the outside edge, it locks to the center. I'm going to do the same thing with this axle. The 8x, the long axle shaft, we'll go between the faces and centered it. Now hit OK. So those are locked together now. And I'm going to do another join. Actually, we'll do the spur gear first. So when we get the spur gear on here, we're going to join this bushing. And we're going to put it right here. And flip that over. This will be a revolute. We're going to grab this axle, the short axle, and put it inside here. This will be rigid. So now we have the place where the spur gear is going to attach to. We can bring in our worm gear. Let's do between two faces again. Between the faces of this axle at that center point. And I'm going to do, did not accept that center point. And then down here, I'm going to do between two faces again, between this face and this face. And I want it to be centered on this hole. So now it brings that in. This will be revolute. So now I have my worm gear locked in position so it can rotate and do its thing. So now we got to attach this spur gear to this axle so that it lines up with this shaft. And so join this circle, and we'll pick our front view and just line this up till it's roughly somewhat centered there. That would be fine. So this is negative, let's just do an even -1 inches. So now we have our gears meshing together, and just like before, we're going to slightly rotate this spur gear. If I go to the top, you can see that better. Let's rotate this spur gear a bit so it's not intersecting anywhere. There we go. So we'll capture our position. And now we need to build the relationship for that motion link. So the joints we want this rotation, and we want this rotation. Ooh, wait a minute. I need to edit this last joint because the spur gear should be a rigid joint. And I think that means I need to spin this back again. So you see we should only have in our joints folder 2 revolutes, the revolute for the worm gear and the revolute for the spur gear. So now we can do our motion link. Pick those 2 revolute joints. You see we have differing motion here. So the spur gear or the worm gear is moving down, which means this should move in the opposite direction. So I'll hit reverse here. So now they're both moving in the correct orientation. But my relationship here should be 360 to 10. It seems like that flipped the wrong thing. So I'll make that one 360 and this one 10. So now this looks appropriate to what we should see. For every 360 degrees of rotation from the worm gear, we get 10 degrees from the spur gear. So we can hit OK. And now we can see that motion. So like I demonstrated in class with a spur gear and worm gear combination, spur gears can't actually turn the worm gear. That's one of the benefits of a worm gear. So we would have to spin the worm gear to see an output. But Fusion kind of just lets us see the relationship that we built in, not necessarily if it could make that interaction happen or not. But now we can hit save. So we have our worm gear done, our pulley done, and if we notice the spur gear assembly has no picture because if you look at the spur gear file, there's a little asterisk and it says V1 still because we need to go here and still hit save. So that's just a little notation you can pay attention to. If you see that star, that asterisk at the end of your file name, that just means it has unsaved changes. So now you should end with all 3 assemblies in that 4.1.4 folder. You don't need to submit anything for this, you just need to have those files. They just need to exist in your folder appropriately.